Admiral Kane Harrison walked slowly through the long hallway. The walls were made of some strange crystal that glowed with soft blue light. His boots made quiet sounds on the smooth floor. He had been to alien worlds before, but the Galactic Council station still made him feel small. The station was huge. It floated in empty space between 3 star systems. Ships from 12 different alien races came and went from its docking bays. Kane could see them through the crystal walls as he walked. Some ships looked like metal insects. Others were round like bubbles. A few looked almost normal, but most were shapes that hurt to look at. Kane wore his best uniform, dark blue with gold stripes on the shoulders. His metals caught the crystal light. He wanted to look strong for what was coming. Behind him walked Lieutenant Lisa Martinez. She carried a small recording device hidden in her jacket. Everything that happened today would be sent back to Earth. They reached the main chamber. Kane stopped at the entrance and took a deep breath. The room was enormous. It was shaped like a bowl with seats going up the sides. In the center was a platform made of the same glowing crystal as the walls. That was where Kane would stand. The seats were filled with aliens. Kane had studied them all, but seeing them together still made his skin crawl. The Zephyrians looked like giant bugs with 4 arms and big black eyes. Their leader sat in the biggest chair. The Karani looked like wolves that walked on 2 legs. They had sharp teeth and yellow eyes. The Nethros wore special suits filled with water because they came from ocean planets. There were others too. The Vorthan had gray skin and huge eyes like children. They were traders who sold things between the worlds. The Krillian had tentacles instead of arms. The hive mind species all moved together like they shared one brain. Kane walked down to the center platform. His footsteps echoed in the big room. All the alien eyes watched him. Some made clicking sounds. Others growled low in their throats. Lisa found a seat in the visitor area where she could see everything. The Zephyrian leader stood up. It was 8 feet tall with wings that folded against its back. When it spoke, its voice came through speakers that changed the words to English. "Welcome, Admiral Harrison of Earth," the Zephyrian said. "You stand before the Galactic Council as a representative of humanity." Kane nodded but said nothing. He had been told to listen first. "The Council has watched your species for 50 years, the alien continued. "When you first left your home planet, you were weak. Your ships were slow, your weapons were simple. The Council took pity on you. Other aliens made sounds of agreement. The Karani howled softly. The Nethros bubbled in their water suits. We protected your ships from pirates," the Zephyrian said. "We showed you safe routes between the stars. We traded with you when no one else would. We gave you technology that helped you grow strong." Kane's jaw tightened. That was not how humans remembered it. The aliens had been helpful, yes, but they had also been watching, learning about human weaknesses, counting human ships and weapons. "Now humanity has many colonies," the Zephyrian went on. "Your ships travel far from Earth. Your people mine asteroids and build space stations. You have become a real space-traveling race." The alien's black eyes fixed on Kane. "It is time for humanity to pay for the help it has received." A hologram appeared above the platform. It showed numbers and pictures. Kane felt his heart sink as he read them. The Council wanted 30% of everything Earth made in its factories. They wanted 20% of all the food grown on human worlds. They wanted the rights to mine the asteroid belt that humans had spent decades developing. But the worst part was at the bottom of the list. The Council wanted to put their own people in charge of human military bases. They wanted to control where human ships could go. They wanted to decide what weapons humans could build. "This is the tribute system," the Zephyrian explained. "All young races pay tribute to older ones. It keeps peace in the galaxy. It makes sure everyone has what they need." Kane looked around the room. Every alien species was nodding or making sounds of agreement. Even the Vorthan, who had seemed friendly to humans, stayed quiet. The Karani paid tribute for 100 years before they were allowed to be full council members, the Zephyrian said. The Nethros paid for 200 years. Some species still pay because they are not ready for full membership. The alien leader's wings spread wide. Humanity will pay tribute until the council decides you are mature enough to join us as equals. This could take 50 years. It could take 500 years. That is for the council to decide. Kane felt anger rising in his chest. Back on Earth, President Emma Collins and the other leaders were watching this through Lisa's hidden camera. They would be feeling the same anger. The Zephyrian handed Kane a tablet made of some kind of living metal. The words on it glowed and changed as he looked at them. It was the formal tribute demand written in Earth's languages. "You will take this back to your leaders," the alien said. "They have one standard galactic week to accept these terms. 7 of your Earth days." Kane took the tablet. It felt warm and seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "What if humanity refuses?" Kane asked. The room went quiet. Every alien stopped making noise. Even the constant humming of the space station seemed to fade. The Zephyrians' mandibles clicked together. It was the sound they made when they were amused. "No species has ever refused tribute, Admiral Harrison," it said. "No species has ever been foolish enough to try." A Karani leader stood up from its seat. It was covered in gray fur with scars across its snout. "Those who do not pay tribute lose council protection," it growled. "Pirates attack their ships. Trade routes close to them. They become alone in a dangerous galaxy." A Nethros spoke through its water suit. The voice was bubbly and hard to understand. "Young species need guidance. Without the council, they make mistakes. They start wars. They hurt themselves and others." Kane looked at each alien in turn. They all stared back at him with eyes that showed no doubt. This was how things had always been done. This was how they would always be done. The Zephyrian leader spread its forearms wide. "The council offers humanity a choice, Admiral. Accept tribute and remain under our protection. Grow slowly and safely under our guidance, or refuse and face the galaxy alone." Kane nodded slowly. "I understand the council's position." "Good," the Zephyrian said. "Return to Earth. Speak to your leaders. Come back in 7 days with humanity's answer." Kane turned to leave, but the alien's voice stopped him. "Admiral Harrison," it called. "Choose wisely. The galaxy is vast and full of dangers. Humanity is still very young and very small. You need friends more than you need pride." Kane looked back at the assembled aliens, 12 species that controlled most of the known galaxy. Their ships numbered in the millions. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their reach extended across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. "I'll deliver your message," Kane said. He walked back up the long slope to where Lisa waited. She fell into step beside him as they left the chamber. Neither of them spoke until they were back in their shuttle. "Did you get it all?" Kane asked as the shuttle pulled away from the station. Lisa nodded and patted her jacket where the recording device was hidden. "Every word." Kane looked out the window at the alien station growing smaller behind them. In a few hours they would reach their ship. In a few days they would be back at Earth. 7 days to decide humanity's future. 7 days to choose between slavery and war. Kane hoped the leaders back home were ready for what was coming. The elevator went down for 3 minutes before it stopped. Kane Harrison and Lisa Martinez stepped out into a hallway that was carved from solid rock. Bright lights hung from the ceiling. Guards in black uniforms stood at attention as they passed. They were deep under the Colorado mountains. This place did not exist on any public map. Only the most important people in the world knew about it. Today, those people were waiting to hear what the aliens wanted. Kane walked through a heavy metal door into a large room. The walls were covered with screens showing Earth from space. Other screens showed human colonies on distant worlds. In the center was a long table made of dark wood. President Emma Collins sat at the head of the table. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been president for 3 years, but she looked like she had aged 10 years in the last week. "Admiral Harrison," she said as Kane entered. "Thank you for coming so quickly." Kane saluted and took his seat. Lisa sat behind him with her recording equipment ready. Around the table were the most powerful people in human space. General Ryan Parker commanded Earth's space fleet. He was an old soldier with white hair and hands that shook slightly. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago. Dr. Ashley Turner was the head of alien studies. She knew more about the Council species than anyone else on Earth. Director Chris Morgan ran Earth's spy network. He was a quiet man who always seemed to know things others did not. There were others too. Secretary of Defense Helen Davis had been a fighter pilot before she became a politician. Treasury Secretary Ben Foster looked worried as he studied numbers on his tablet. Secretary of State Carol Wright had spent years trying to build good relationships with alien traders. President Collins looked around the table. Admiral Harrison has just returned from the Council station. He has something to show us. Kane placed the alien tablet on the table. It still glowed with soft light. The words on it seemed to move and change color. "They want tribute," Kane said simply. 30% of our industrial production, 20% of our food, complete control of the asteroid belt, and military oversight of all human forces. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then General Parker slammed his fist on the table. "Military oversight?" he growled. "They want to put alien commanders in charge of human soldiers?" "That's what they said," Kane replied. "They want to control our weapons, our ships, our bases, everything." Dr. Turner leaned forward. "I've been studying the Council's history. Every species goes through this. The Korani paid tribute for 100 years, the Nethros for 200. Some species are still paying after 500 years. What happens if we refuse?" asked President Collins. Director Morgan cleared his throat. "I've been monitoring Council communications. They've never had a species refuse tribute before. Their response would likely be economic sanctions first, then military pressure if we don't change our minds." Secretary Foster looked up from his tablet. "The economic impact would be devastating. We depend on alien trade routes for supplies to our outer colonies. Without Council protection, pirates would attack our cargo ships. Our economy would collapse within months." "Maybe that's better than being slaves," said General Parker. "Are we strong enough to fight them?" asked President Collins. General Parker was quiet for a moment. "Our fleet has grown over the past 10 years. We have good ships and well-trained crews, but the Council has 12 species working together. They have thousands of ships, we have hundreds." "What about our technology?" asked Dr. Turner. "Are we behind them?" Director Morgan smiled slightly. "Not as much as they think. We've been studying their technology for decades. We've made some improvements of our own." He activated a hologram projector. Images appeared above the table showing human ships in space. But these were not the ships the Council knew about. "We've been building in secret," Morgan explained. "Hidden, shipyards in the outer system, bases on asteroids that look like mining stations. We have more ships than the Council realizes." President Collins studied the images. "How many more?" "3 times what they think we have," Morgan said. "And our ships are faster than theirs. Our weapons are more accurate. Our shields are stronger." General Parker's eyes lit up. "You've been busy, Chris." "We've been preparing for this day since first contact," Morgan replied. "We knew the Council would eventually want something from us. We wanted to be ready." Secretary Wright spoke up. "What about diplomacy? Can we negotiate, reduce the tribute, or delay it?" Dr. Turner shook her head. "I've studied their culture. The tribute system is sacred to them. They see it as the natural order. Older species guide younger ones. The strong protect the weak. They won't understand why we object." "Because they think we're still weak," said Kane. "They remember us from 50 years ago when we could barely reach our own moon." President Collins stood up and walked to one of the screens showing Earth. "What do you think the people would say if they knew about this?" "They'd be angry," said Secretary Davis. "Americans don't like being told what to do by their own government. They sure won't like being told what to do by aliens." "The colonies would rebel," added General Parker. "Mars, Europa, Titan, they didn't leave Earth to become slaves to bug-eyed monsters." Director Morgan pulled up more images. These showed human settlements across the solar system and beyond. "We have 8 billion people on Earth, 2 billion more in the colonies. That's 10 billion humans who value their freedom. And they're not defenseless," added Dr. Turner. Every human settlement has weapons. Every cargo ship has shields. Every factory can be converted to make military supplies. President Collins turned back to the table. The council sees us as children who need guidance. They want to control us for our own good. They want to control us because we're competition, said General Parker. They've had the galaxy to themselves for thousands of years. Now there's a new player in the game. Kane nodded. That's what I saw in their eyes. They're not just offering protection. They're afraid of what we might become if we're left alone. They should be, said Morgan quietly. President Collins returned to her seat. We need to make a decision. The council wants an answer in 7 days. What are our options? Asked Secretary Foster. We can accept the tribute, said Secretary Wright. Submit to their control and hope they treat us fairly. We can try to negotiate, added Dr. Turner. Ask for better terms or more time. Or we can refuse, said General Parker. Tell them humanity bows to no one. The room was quiet again. Everyone knew what refusing would mean. War with the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Billions of lives at risk. The possible destruction of human civilization. But they also knew what accepting would mean. Generations of slavery. Human children growing up under alien rule. The slow death of human independence and spirit. President Collins looked at each person around the table. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor of accepting the council's tribute demands? No hands went up. All in favor of attempting to negotiate better terms? Still no hands. All in favor of refusing the tribute demands? Every hand in the room went up. Even Secretary Foster, who had been worried about the economic costs, raised his hand. President Collins nodded. It's unanimous. We refuse. She turned to Kane. Admiral, when you return to the council station, you'll deliver humanity's answer. Kane saluted. What should I tell them, Madam President? President Collins smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had made a hard choice and was ready to face the consequences. Tell them exactly what Americans have been telling tyrants for over 200 years, she said. Tell them no. Kane smiled back. Just no? Just no, the president confirmed. I think they'll understand what it means. The meeting ended. People filed out of the room to prepare for what was coming. Kane remained behind with Lisa and the president. Are we doing the right thing? Asked President Collins. Kane looked at the alien tablet still glowing on the table. I don't know if it's right, he said, but it's human. That was enough. Kane Harrison stood outside the council chamber doors. His heart was beating fast, but his face stayed calm. Lisa Martinez waited beside him. She checked her hidden camera one more time. What happened next would be seen by billions of humans across the galaxy. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Kane walked into the huge room. This time it was even more crowded than before. Word had spread through the alien networks that humanity would give an important answer today. Species that never came to council meetings had sent representatives. The crystal walls glowed brighter than before. The seats were packed with aliens of every shape and size. Kane could see creatures he had never seen before. Some looked like walking trees with many eyes. Others were just floating clouds of gas held together by energy fields. Kane's boots clicked on the crystal floor as he walked to the center platform. Every alien eye in the room watched him. Some made clicking sounds. Others growled softly. A few species communicated through flashing lights that hurt to look at. The Zephyrian leader stood up in its tall chair, its forearms spread wide in greeting. Its black eyes reflected the crystal light. Admiral Harrison, the alien said through its translator. Welcome back to the council chamber. Have the leaders of humanity reached a decision? Kane nodded. They have. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. When he activated it, a hologram appeared above his head. It showed Earth spinning slowly in space. Blue oceans and white clouds, green and brown continents, the home of 10 billion humans. The people of Earth have carefully considered the Council's tribute demands, Kane said. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. We have discussed the terms with our leaders. our military commanders, and our civilian populations. The aliens leaned forward in their seats. The Karani's yellow eyes glowed with interest. The Nethros bubbled quietly in their water suits. Even the gas cloud creatures pulsed with different colors. "We understand the Council's position," Kane continued. "You have maintained order in this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. You have established trade routes, prevented wars, and helped younger species develop their technology." The Zephyrian's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Other council members made sounds of agreement. "We also acknowledge that humanity is young compared to your ancient civilizations," Kane said. "We have only been traveling between stars for 50 years. We are still learning about the galaxy and our place in it." A Vorthan trader in the upper seats tilted its large head. Its huge eyes never blinked as it watched Kane speak. "However," Kane said, and the word hung in the air like a bomb about to explode, "the leaders of humanity have reached a unanimous decision regarding your tribute demands." The chamber went completely quiet. Even the constant humming of the space station seemed to fade away. Every alien stopped making noise. Every eye focused on the human standing alone on the crystal platform. Kane reached into his uniform jacket. He pulled out a simple piece of paper. It was white earth paper, the kind children used in school. On it were words written in black ink. Kane held the paper up so everyone in the chamber could see it. The words were large and clear. They were written in English, but the universal translators would make sure every alien understood them. There was only one word on the paper: no. Kane's voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the huge room. "Humanity's answer to your tribute demands is no." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chamber exploded into chaos. The Karani howled like wolves. The sound was so loud that Lisa had to cover her ears. The Nethros bubbled frantically in their suits, creating clouds of foam. The insect-like Krillian clicked their claws together in rapid patterns. Several alien species jumped to their feet. Others activated weapons that had been hidden in their clothing. The gas creatures flashed angry red colors. The tree-like beings waved their branches wildly. The Zephyrian leader's wings spread to their full width. It was a threat display that Kane recognized from his studies. The alien's voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. "This is impossible," it shouted. "No species has ever refused tribute. No species has ever been so foolish." Kane folded the paper carefully and put it back in his jacket. "There is a first time for everything." A Karani commander with scars across its snout snarled at Kane. "You do not understand what you have done, human. Without council protection, your species will face dangers you cannot imagine." "We will destroy your trade routes," bubbled a Nethros admiral. "Your cargo ships will be attacked by pirates. Your colonies will starve. Your technology will stagnate without our guidance," clicked a Krillian scientist. "You will fall behind and become extinct." Kane listened to all the threats without changing expression. When the noise died down, he spoke again. "Members of the council," he said calmly, "I think you are the ones who do not understand." He activated his hologram device again. This time the image showed not just Earth, but the entire solar system. Planets, moons, asteroid belts, and space stations. All of human space. "You remember? Humanity from 50 years ago," Kane said. "When we could barely reach our own moon. When our ships were slow and our weapons were simple. When we needed your protection just to survive." The hologram changed. Now it showed human ships. But these were not the small, simple vessels the Council remembered. These were sleek warships with advanced weapons and thick armor. "But humanity has not stood still," Kane continued. "We have been learning. We have been building. We have been preparing." More images appeared. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt. Secret bases on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Weapons factories, disguised as mining stations. The aliens stared at the images with growing alarm. The human fleet was much larger than they had known. The technology was more advanced than they had expected. "For 50 years you have watched us," Kane said. "But we have also been watching you. We have studied your ships, your weapons, your tactics. We have learned your strengths and your weaknesses. The Zephyrian leader's voice was quieter now. You would fight the entire council? 12 species against one? Kane smiled. It was not a friendly smile. If necessary. You cannot win, said the Karani commander. We have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, weapons that can destroy planets. Maybe, Kane replied. But you would have to find us first. The hologram changed again. Now it showed empty space. But as they watched, human ships began appearing out of nowhere. They had been there all along, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. How long do you think it would take us to reach your homeworlds? Kane asked. How many of your ships would we destroy before you stopped us? How many of your people would die? The chamber was quiet again. But this time it was a different kind of quiet. It was the quiet of predators who had suddenly realized they were not hunting prey. They were facing another predator. The Zephyrian leader's mandibles clicked nervously. What do you want, human? Kane deactivated the hologram. We want to be left alone to live our lives as we choose. We want to trade freely with whoever will trade with us. We want to explore the galaxy and find our own path among the stars. And if we refuse? Asked a Nethros admiral. Kane's smile became wider. Then you will learn why humanity survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and every other disaster our planet could throw at us. You will learn why we conquered our own world before we reached for the stars. He paused and looked around the chamber. You will learn that humans do not make good slaves. Kane turned and walked toward the exit. Lisa fell into step beside him. At the door he stopped and looked back at the assembled aliens. The age of tribute is over, he said. The age of partnership begins now. You can join us as equals, or you can try to fight us as enemies. The choice is yours. Kane and Lisa left the chamber. Behind them, the council sat in stunned silence. For the first time in thousands of years, they faced a species that refused to bow down. The galaxy would never be the same. The council chamber was quiet after Kane and Lisa left. The alien leaders sat in their seats like statues. No one spoke for several minutes. Then the Zephyrian leader's voice broke the silence. Emergency session, it announced. All council members must return to their home worlds immediately. We will decide how to respond to this insult. Within hours, alien ships began leaving the council station. They carried angry leaders back to their planets. Messages flew through space at faster than light speeds. The council's military commanders received urgent orders. On Earth, President Collins stood in the underground command center. General Parker was beside her, watching screens that showed space around the solar system. Director Morgan worked at a console covered with blinking lights. Council ships are moving, reported a technician. Zephyrian battle fleet is heading toward the edge of our territory. How many ships? Asked General Parker. 50 warships. Heavy cruisers and destroyers. They're taking positions at the border of human space. President Collins nodded. Phase 1 is beginning. They want to show us their strength before they attack. General Parker smiled grimly. Then let's show them ours. Chris, activate Operation Freedom. Director Morgan's fingers moved across his console. All human ships, this is command. Operation Freedom is now active. Repeat, Operation Freedom is now active. Across the solar system, things began to happen. Near Mars, what looked like a large asteroid suddenly split open. Inside was a massive human battleship. Its engines glowed bright blue as it moved toward the Zephyrian fleet. Around Jupiter's moon's mining stations began to change. Their outer shells fell away like old skin. Underneath were weapons platforms with guns that could destroy planets. They turned their weapons toward the alien ships. In the asteroid belt, thousands of space rocks began to move. They were not rocks at all. They were human ships covered with fake stone. Now they showed their true nature. Sleek warships with advanced weapons and thick armor. The Zephyrian fleet commander watched his screens in shock. Where there had been empty space, now there were hundreds of human ships. Where there had been peaceful mining stations, now there were military bases. How is this possible? He asked his officers. Our intelligence said the humans had only a small fleet. Sir, reported a Zephyrian technician, we're detecting human ships throughout the system. Estimate over 400 vessels, all armed with weapons we've never seen before. On the Council homeworld, emergency meetings were happening in every government building. The Zephyrian High Command studied reports from their fleet commanders. The numbers were impossible to believe. The humans have been lying to us for 50 years, said Admiral Zexkor, the military leader. They've been building a secret fleet while pretending to be peaceful traders. Not just building, said Intelligence Chief Vextal. Their technology is more advanced than ours. Their ships are faster. Their weapons are more powerful. The Zephyrian Supreme Leader, an ancient creature whose wings had turned white with age, listened to the reports. How many of our ships would we lose in a war with them? At least half, admitted Admiral Zexkor. Maybe more. Their ships are smaller than ours, but they're much more advanced. Similar conversations were happening on every council world. The Karani pack leaders howled in frustration. The Nethros admirals bubbled angrily in their water chambers. The Krillian hive minds calculated battle odds and found them terrifying. But the real shock came 3 days later. Director Morgan sat at his console on Earth, watching alien communications. Suddenly, his screen lit up with new information. General. Parker, he called. You need to see this. Parker hurried over. What is it? Human ships are appearing in council space, not at the borders, deep inside their territories. Parker's eyes widened. How many ships? Dozens. Around Zephyrian colonies, near Karani military bases, in orbit around Nethros ocean worlds. President Collins joined them at the screen. How did they get there so fast? Morgan smiled. Remember our new faster-than-light engines? They're not just faster than the Council's technology, they're much faster. On the Zephyrian homeworld, panic was spreading through the government. Human ships had appeared in their star system without warning. They were not attacking, but their message was clear. We can reach you anywhere. Admiral Zexkor stared at his tactical display. They bypassed all our defenses. How is that possible? Sir, reported a technician. They're using some kind of advanced cloaking technology. Our sensors can't detect them until they want to be seen. The Supreme Leader's old voice was tired. What do they want? Before anyone could answer, the human ships began broadcasting a message. It appeared on every council world at the same time. The face of President Collins filled screens across the galaxy. People of the Galactic Council, she began. I am Emma Collins, President of the United Earth Federation. I speak for all humanity. The camera pulled back to show Kane standing beside her in his uniform. Behind them was a view of Earth from space. Today marks a turning point in galactic history, President Collins continued. For thousands of years, the Council has ruled through fear and tribute. Older species have demanded payment from younger ones. The strong have controlled the weak. Her voice became stronger. Humanity rejects this system. We will not pay tribute to anyone. We will not bow down to threats. We will not accept the rule of others. The image changed to show the human fleet. Hundreds of ships arranged in perfect formation around Earth. Their weapons were powered down, but everyone watching knew they could destroy worlds. But we do not seek war, President Collins said. We do not want to conquer other species or rule over them. We want something different. We want partnership. On the Zephyrian homeworld, the Supreme Leader leaned forward in his chair. What kind of partnership? As if she could hear him, President Collins answered. We offer the Council a new way forward. Trade based on mutual benefit, not tribute. Protection through mutual defense, not domination. Cooperation between equals, not masters and slaves. Kane stepped forward. To those species who choose friendship, we extend our hand in peace. We will share our technology, our knowledge, and our resources. His expression became serious. To those who choose war, we offer this warning. Humanity has survived ice ages and plagues. We have endured world wars and disasters. We have conquered our own planet and reached for the stars. The camera showed more human ships appearing around council worlds. Not attacking, just watching, waiting. "We do not make good slaves," Kane said. "And we do not make good enemies. Choose wisely." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, council leaders sat in stunned silence. For the first time in their history, they faced a species that was not afraid of them. In the days that followed, some council species began reaching out to human ambassadors. The Vorthon traders were first. They had always been more interested in profit than politics. A trade agreement with humanity could make them very wealthy. The Krillian hive minds were next. They calculated the odds and realized that cooperation was more profitable than war. Their collective intelligence saw opportunities that others missed. Even some of the warrior species began to reconsider. The Karani respected strength, and humanity had shown they were strong. Perhaps these humans could be useful allies instead of dangerous enemies. But the Zephyrians and their closest allies remained angry. They had ruled the galaxy for too long to give up easily. Secret meetings were held, battle plans were drawn up. They would find a way to put these upstart humans in their place. President Collins knew this was just the beginning. Some species would choose cooperation, others would choose conflict. The galaxy was about to become a much more dangerous place. But humanity was ready. They had been preparing for this day since they first looked up at the stars. They had built their ships in secret and trained their crews in silence. Now they were ready to take their place among the stars, not as servants or slaves, but as equals. The age of tribute was over. The age of humanity had begun, and it had all started with one simple word: no.